everything good?
Hello, happy campers. Everything's great, baby, because this is the 100th episode of the show that we've done. But it is not Geekin Out 100. We have a new... Okay, for those who've been paying attention, they know the story. For those of you who don't, here's the story in a nutshell. And when it comes to us, nutshells, what you get. By the way, I'm Spike, he's Chris. All right, it's all fun. Now, turns out there's about, what, 200 or 300 accounts who use Geekin Out on YouTube. They all gave up until we started doing this show, and now all of a sudden 200 or 300 people are showing up wanting to do Geekin Out. So
we lasted a year.
We lasted a year. Anyway.
45 subscribers.
That's what happens when we let Chris name a show. You named the show.
I look
Geekin Out.
Oh, I see. So it's my fault.
Yes.
Absolutely, if these people haven't posted in like 5, 2, 3 years, I mean, it's pretty much, well, I'm going to take that. Jeez.
Anyway. So, after much consideration, weeks and months of just ripping my heart out of my chest, ripping the hair out of my head.
So dramatic.
Dramatic soul searching. I mean, billions and trillions of tax dollars in development, millions of lives lost, locusts, frogs, cats and dogs living together. We have a new name, the Spike and Chris Show. So, there we go.
Spike and Chris Show.
But with the Spike and Chris Show, we're going to be a little bit different. Instead of sticking to geeky stuff exclusively, like we ever did. Now, it's pretty much whatever we want to do. If we want to do a show on pop culture, we do a show on pop culture. If we want to geek out, we geek out. If we want to get all political and angry and stuff, we'll probably leave it on the cutting room floor and never actually post it to YouTube, because I've had to do that several times. But moreover, with our new equipment, and I'm actually working this show into the schedule so I can actually spend some time each week producing this thing and getting it out there. But moreover, we're also wanting to get out of the Who What Where studios here and get out on the road. Now that Dorona is over, and oh boy, do I have stuff to say about Dorona. Now, anyone who's watched this show for any length of time, back when we were geeking out, when I was doing the Shore of Duty for, what, 3 weeks, I did not take Dorona seriously. Every expert in America was cussing people like me up and down because I wasn't taking it seriously. It's not just a bad flu, this, that, and that. Well, it turns out, yes, it was a bad flu. Yes, it is not as communicable as people thought. No, it was not the apocalypse. No, it does not cause you to explode if you see it.
Or come back from the dead.
Or come back from the dead. Nor can you be reinfected 10 hours after you had it. No. Turns out it's a frickin' virus, just like every other virus that's come along, because if it wasn't like every other virus that come along, it wouldn't be a virus, it would be something else. So, now we got to figure out all these frickin' experts, okay? And I'm just going to throw it out there. All you experts, from, what's his name, Dr. Stephen Fauci on down, whoever has been telling Trump he's an idiot this week. Whoever's in charge of the thing.
Oh, they're all idiots.
You idiots. All right. Dr. Birx, although I don't blame her as much as I blame Dr. Fauci, because he's the one who's trying to make a living off of it. All of you so-called experts, you self-professed experts, have told us for weeks and weeks and months now that this was the great death. We were all going to die. If we stepped out of the house without our masks on, our grandparents were going to explode. Okay? That's what you idiots have been telling us for months. But now, this past week, with all the protests, all the marches, all the riots, all the looting, all the garbage that's going on, Black Lives Matter, and all this other Antifa, and all this other crap that's flowing around, and yeah, I know I'll catch it, I don't care. All of this that's going around, Fauci and couple of hundred of his fellow healthcare experts who have been trying to frighten us into cowering under our beds for the last 3 months have all signed a letter saying it's more important to go out and protest than it is to protect yourself from the Rona. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is legit. These idiots actually came up, signed this letter, and published it this past week. That if you're going out, you're joining the Black Lives Matter protest thing, then you don't have to worry about the Rona. But if you're trying to go to church or if you're protesting the lockdown orders, then you are wrong, 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 and you will catch the Rona and your grandparents will explode.
It sounds like to me that the reason why they said to go out there and protest is so that more people gets infected and more people die.
So, well, know what they're... here's what I
I
want to know, okay? This is what I actually want to know. So if I go outside without my mask on, and I come up on somebody with Dorona, and I say Black Lives Matter, does that mean that the coronavirus just poofs into nothingness?
No.
Well, according to the experts it does, because if you get together and protest, you can be shoulder to shoulder with your fellow protester and you'll be just fine because you're saying Black Lives Matter. I guess it's like a magic word or something. If you say Black Lives Matter, you're instantly immune. I don't know. Maybe you could say, I would say it needs to be something a little less racial centric though, maybe like Sim Sim Salabim. Alakazam. We need some better magic words. Something that's not exclusive. I don't know. Ollie Ollie Oxenfree. Walla Walla Washington. There's got to be something. But so the
Yeah.
I mean, all of this we went through. Experts, you've completely done a 180. Were you lying to us then, or are you lying to us now? Because you're lying somewhere.
You know, can I add something to all this stuff?
Oh, by all means.
It has nothing to do with the virus. Well, it does a little bit. Okay? So, I'm all about protesting. But there is a difference between protesting and looting. Alright? Due to the fact that after the whole virus thing happened, small businesses and places are struggling to keep ends meet. And now looters are going out there destroying their own community, which means that most of those stores will not open back up because the people that owns those stores has put their life savings in there. The virus pretty much destroyed them. They had some money, but now how are they going to replace burning buildings, broken glass, all the product that they had that was taken away? Those businesses are not going to open back up, period.
I know, and here's this is what I've noticed over these protests. This is a little bit different, actually. This is we're actually seeing people telling the looters to knock it off.
Yeah, we're seeing people, all races, just sitting there in front of stores with guns saying, no, walk away. Walk away.
And it's about frickin' time. The protesters have to own the protest.
Yes.
Which means they must separate themselves from the rioters and the looters and the Antifa thugs, okay? I came about this close to actually doing a video before we did our big 100th extravaganza, which I'm probably going to wind up splitting up and posting hither, dither, and yons. Because otherwise it's going to be another 50-minute episode. We've been doing a lot of those lately. The thing is, it's not a cop problem. I know there's this idea that we need to defund the cops. We need to abolish the cops. No, the cops are not your problem. Okay? The cops are not the problem. It's not the cops. It's not the protesters. It's the thugs. Thugs are professional bullies. They're what bullies grow up to be. Thugs. Okay? You've got thugs on the police force who think that because they now have a badge, they're allowed to just push their thuggery any way they want so they can put their knee on the back of somebody's neck. Okay, so this guy may have had methamphetamines in his system. He may have had fentanyl in his system.
He may have a record.
He may have a criminal record. It still doesn't mean you put your knee on the back of the dude's neck and choke him to death, while 3 other cops stand there and make sure nobody can stop him from doing it. Okay? So I agree with you on that one. There are a bunch of thugs under the name of Antifa, whether you call them cops or Antifa or Black Lives Matter. They're hiding behind something that is supposed to be something else. Antifa is supposed to be anti-fascist. They are the biggest bunch of brown-shirted thugs running right now. Antifa is a terrorist, was actually declared a terrorist organization this past week about frickin' time. So we can find out who's actually funding these dolts. Kristallnacht, if you've never heard of it, look it up. Look for Crystal Night, and that's all I'm going to say on it, because YouTube just cut us off, and Facebook probably give us a frowny face if I go any further with that. But the idea that we've got these thugs on both sides, and it's not just both sides, because you got the cops on one side, okay? You have Black Lives Matter on the other side. You have Antifa working at night, basically causing all this trouble. So you got those two sides, and then you've got a bunch of thugs in the positions of power, whether they're mayors, they're governors, they're police chiefs, whatever they are, they're thugs. The mayor of Washington, D.C. she absolutely refused to hold these looters accountable. Problem is, the mayor of D.C. is not technically the one in charge of D.C. It's the federal government, because the District of Columbia is administered by the federal government. The federal government pulls in the National Guard to reestablish order.
Right.
Shuts it all down fast. All the looting, all the rioting gets shut down quick. So what does the mayor of D.C. do? She runs around, because it's the District of Columbia that's paying for the hotel rooms and stuff that these National Guardsmen are staying in while they're assigned there. She runs around and throws them all out of their hotels.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Mayor Bowser no less, because geeks, pay attention. Whether you're a Sha-Na-Na fan or a Super Mario fan, you know what Bowser is. Mayor Bowser is a thug. She's a thug. She breathes fire just like the little spiky turtle. She's got just enough facial hair to do this.
Oh, shoot.
Mayor Bowser, thug. Okay? And she's part of the problem. And the problem we're seeing in city after city across the country, in Chicago, in L.A., in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Atlanta, one thing you see time after time after time after time after time in these large cities, who is in charge of that large city? It ain't, here's a hint, not Republicans. All of these cities are run by Democrats. And in most of these cities, the Democrats have been in charge for decades. I mean, since the 60s. What happened in the 60s? There was some kind of movement, had a reverend in charge of it. Yeah, the Civil Rights Movement. They got in charge of those big cities, which is where a lot of the black population lived. Start drawing the conclusions, guys. Think for yourselves. I mean, I can sit here, I can go through a list all day long, and all I'm going to do is get thrown on the scrap heap over at YouTube because I'm not thinking the right way.
Even though thousands of other people do the exact same thing and get away with it, it's weird.
Yeah,
but
because they're thinking the right way.
This is one of those things that I got to admit, at first I thought this was one of those things that is going to happen, and then like a month later it's going to be swept under the rug, because it has happened before. I'm actually thinking now, after seeing dozens of videos, that this may actually change something. And I'll tell you why, okay? I'll tell you why. And this actually brought me to tears. I saw a video where a group of Native Americans were literally marching with the Black Lives Matters, and doing warrior chants.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that before. Never in my life. I've never seen it before at all.
Mm-hmm.
Other tribals from Hawaii are doing their own chants to support and all that. And people from around the world are also doing the exact same thing. And I'm starting to wonder, like, wow, this might actually change things. I don't know how. I'm hoping better, but I'm just witnessing things that are actually more positive that is coming out of it.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.